How's the royal family? I pray that everyone is doing well. Well, my royal family, some of y'all may know that Noor, or let's say Mohamed Noor, has been released out of prison, but he is in a different type of custody. And I was able to do some deep research and find some extra nuggets for the royal family. And we're going to go much deeper to understand why Noor was released. And I have a little bit of something here I'm going to read first before we get into these two videos. All right. Former Indianapolis police officer Mohamed Noor is home after his third-degree murder conviction. He is not home, my royal family. He is at a, unquote, halfway house. I don't know why these people mislead, but that is, if we are a responsible blogger, this is what we're supposed to do to let the royal family know what's really going on and reading between the lines. So, we know that Noor Mohamed was subsequently charged with 12 and a half years, and that was overturned. His sentence was overturned. The 36-year-old Noor was found guilty in a 2019 jury trial of third-degree murder and second-degree manslaughter after the July 2017 shooting of the death of Justin Damon. The Minnesota Supreme Court overturned the third-degree murder conviction in September of 2021, saying Noor's actions did not meet the legal standard of depraved mind, and the shooting was aimed at one person. Noor was sentenced under 5 years in October of 2021. The move up that moved up his release date to June 27, 2022. He will be on supervised release until January of 2024. See how these articles go? They say that the first part is said that he was, when I was reading this here, he was released, he was at home, basically. They said, up here on the top it said Noor is home. No, he's not home. So let me finish this. Okay, so yeah, he will be on supervised release until January of 2024. Damon called Justin, that's her name, 911 the night of July 15, 2017 to report a possible sexual assault behind her door. Noor said he was in fear of an ambush leading up to the shooting. Noor was the first police officer in Minnesota to be convicted in a shooting while on duty. All right, we're going to get deeper into this, and I'm going to play this first video. And pay attention, again, my royal family, to language. They are making an example out of him. I do remember this case very vividly, how quickly they moved. And I will give y'all my reasons why I think they did what they did. So, let's get back to the beginning of this.
Damon told the court he forgives Mohamed Noor, his words resonating with activists inside the courtroom.
Wait a second here. Wait just a second, my royal family. I'm on the wrong one. Forgive me for that.
Hey, welcome in, folks, on this Friday morning. We have got to check out this must-see.
Let's freshen this up. Okay, now. We in business.
Good evening. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Former Minneapolis police officer Mohamed Noor has a new sentence for the shooting death of Justine Ruszczyk.
Powerful impact statements from Ruszczyk's family and fiance were given before the judge handed down her ruling.
I hereby sentence you to the Commissioner of Corrections for a period of 57 months.
Well, Noor was back in court today because the Minnesota Supreme Court threw out his third-degree murder conviction.
So today's resentencing focused on the second-degree manslaughter charge. Lou Raguse was inside the courtroom today and joins us now with what happened in there. Hi, Lou.
Hi, Rena. Hi, Julie. Justine's father and stepmother asked Judge Catherine Quaintance to give Mohamed Noor as much prison time as she could, and she did. But now that means Noor will end up spending a total of about 3 years in prison for the shooting. As former Minneapolis police officer Mohamed Noor awaited his new sentence, the torment that Justine Ruszczyk's family in Australia still experiences was clear through their statements read by prosecutors.
Memories of that day, the lead up to the trial, and then of the trial itself are often the last things I think of before I sleep and the first things I think of when I awake.
Noor shot Justine in July 2017 in the alley behind her home in one of the safest neighborhoods in Minneapolis after she called 911 about a woman she heard screaming. Noor testified that he thought Justine was a threat, but now admits he overreacted. At the resentencing hearing, Justine's fiance Don Damon addressed Noor from a Zoom monitor there on the right, telling him Justine would forgive him for his inability to manage his emotions, resulting in him pulling the trigger.
Given her example, I want you to know that I forgive you, Mohamed. All I ask is that you use this experience to do good for other people.
When given the chance to speak, Noor said that is what he'll do.
I'm deeply grateful for Mr. Damon's forgiveness. I'm deeply sorry for the pain that I've caused that family, and I will take his advice and be a unifier. Thank you.
Judge Catherine Quaintance could have sentenced Noor anywhere between 41 and 57 months in prison.
Mr. Noor, I am not surprised that you have been a model prisoner. However, I do not know of any authority that would make that grounds for reducing your sentence.
She went with the max, 57 months, meaning Noor will be released in June. And that's because in Minnesota, inmates spend 2/3 of their sentence behind bars. The last third is essentially an automatic parole, and he gets credit for the time that he has already served. He'll be out in 8 months. Rena.
All right, thank you, Lou. Well, what was said inside the courtroom really resonated with people outside of the court. Friends, family, and community activists all paid very close attention to the sentence and those impact statements. Charmaine Nero heard from them today. Charmaine?
That's right, Rena. Following the hearing, there were different reactions from Noor's family members and social activists. Mohamed Noor's father told reporters he was disappointed in the judge's decision today, but some social activists said the victim impact statement from Justine's fiance nearly brought them to tears. One activist says it was very fortunate for the judge and Justine's family to show so much compassion.
We feel that it was a mercy. It was a mercy. It was a mercy on our behalf.
But I was even more touched by Mr. Damon and his saying, I forgive you. He said, you know, Justine would forgive you, but he said, I forgive you.
While social activists say they're grateful for the compassion shown today, they want more officers who commit crimes held responsible for their actions. Back to you.
All right. Thank you, Charmaine. There's been a lot of attention focused on what the judge would do today and how the third-degree murder charge was dropped. For some perspective on the process and what this sentence means, we're joined tonight by Emeritus Law Professor at Hamline University, Joseph Daly. Thanks so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you.
So before we talk about what happened today, can you refresh our memories as to why the Minnesota Supreme Court threw out that original third-degree murder conviction?
Because he did not fire willy-nilly at anyone all over the place and sprayed bullets. He specifically aimed at one person. And the Minnesota Supreme Court interpreted murder 3 to say that is not the purpose of murder 3. It cannot be that you're specifically aiming at one person.
So that charge was thrown out. We found ourselves back in court today for the resentencing. You heard some of what the judge had to say today and the sentence she decided to hand down. What is your reaction?
I had a pretty good understanding. I think that she was not going to give him the low end based on what she had said when she originally sentenced him. I think Judge Quaintance views this as a very, very serious offense. And she articulated that when she talked about she just missed his partner, or he just missed his partner, and also he was shooting a gun in a residential area. Bullets could have gone flying through someone's window and hit someone else. So I think she viewed this as very serious.
And when you're referencing, just to refresh viewers' memories, when you're referencing could have hit his partner, he stretched across his partner to fire the gun outside of that window. He shot right past his partner in the squad car. Well, this case is important not just obviously for Mr. Noor, but because it sets precedent. So how do you see this affecting cases moving forward?
I think it will be a message to most police officers that judges will look at their culpable negligence quite seriously. She gave him the highest end of what was in the range of the sentencing guidelines. And so I think it is a message to police officers to pay attention, to be careful, to not be negligent in the pursuit of their duties.
So ultimately, it'll be about 3 years served. I know for a lot of people, certainly for Justine's family, doesn't seem like a very long sentence. Can you speak to that? I know the judge is bound by those sentencing guidelines.
I think it's really a decision by the legislature, the state of Minnesota legislature. Ultimately, they view manslaughter, culpable negligence as.
Oops. It was an impactful moment during the hearing when Don Damon.
Let me make sure we got all of that. Let me refresh that. That was kind of weird. And I wanted to watch that fresh with y'all. Let's just see. Because I wanted y'all to get my authentic reaction.
Good evening. Thanks for joining us tonight.
In the low end, based on what she had said.
To fire the gun outside of that window. He shot right past his partner in the squad car.
Make sure we get it all.
This case is important not just obviously for Mr. Noor, but because it sets precedent. So how do you see this affecting cases moving forward?
I think it will be a message to most police officers that judges will look at their culpable negligence quite seriously. She gave him the highest end of what was in the range of the sentencing guidelines. And so I think it is a message to police officers to pay attention, to be careful, to not be negligent in the pursuit of their duties.
So ultimately, it'll be about 3 years served. I know for a lot of people, certainly for Justine's family, doesn't seem like a very long sentence. Can you speak to that? I know the judge is bound by those sentencing guidelines.
I think it's really a decision by the legislature. The state of Minnesota legislature. Ultimately, they view manslaughter, culpable negligence as something less than depraved mind, which was murder in the third degree, and so it's really up to the legislature if they want to raise the penalty for police officers who are culpably negligent.
All right. Well, we appreciate your insight and expertise tonight. Thank you for joining us.
So we got
Mr.
that.
Daly.
We got that last little bit, my royal family, and some of these videos. What I'll do is I'll play a portion and listen to myself. And when I heard the lawyer speak, I said, "Okay, I want to stop right there because that will give us." I wanted y'all to get my authentic reaction and everything, and I'm gonna take this one down because I don't want anything to pop up. And before I get into the next video, I want y'all to pay again attention to language and at the tone, how they speak to him. And we know that they were making an example. All right? This is an example for black police officers. But we're going to get deeper into some other things in just a bit. And I'm going to tell you how I feel and what I think. So let's get over here. Oh, and then one thing I wanted to share with y'all. The stuff that y'all are hearing is from portions of it. The majority of the portions of what y'all are hearing are from last year when they resentenced him. And I should have told y'all that earlier. Forgive me.
Family of Justine Ruszczyk-Damon.
Commissioner of Corrections for a period of 57 months. You will receive credit for the 908 days you have spent in custody.
A new sentence handed down today to former Minneapolis police officer Mohamed Noor. It's been more than 2 years since a judge originally sentenced Noor to 12 and a half years in prison for the shooting death of Justine Damon. Thank you for joining us tonight at 5. A ruling last month from the state Supreme Court to toss out a third-degree murder conviction means that Noor will spend significantly less time behind bars.
Today, a judge sentenced Noor to nearly 5 years in prison on manslaughter charges. Paul Bloom joins us now with today's developments. Paul?
Amy and Kelsey, you know, it's really hard to believe that this deadly police encounter unfolded in Minneapolis more than 4 years ago now, and it rocked this city at that time. Yet here we are relitigating a portion of this case this morning. Now, you mentioned Mohamed Noor's overall sentence reduced significantly here, but Judge Catherine Quaintance did come down hard on Noor in relation to that manslaughter count that a jury convicted of him as well.
This resentencing hearing may be the result of a poorly written law, but it cannot change the jury's belief that the then officer Mohamed Noor committed murder.
After reading several victim impact statements from the Australian family of Justine Ruszczyk-Damon, prosecutors asked Judge Catherine Quaintance to re-sentence the former Minneapolis cop to the guideline max for second-degree manslaughter, 57 months.
He pulled that weapon and used it in a misguided belief of his own defense.
It's been more than 4 years since Mohamed Noor shot and killed Damon, an innocent 911 caller worried about a possible sexual assault in her neighborhood. Noor testifying he feared an ambush when Damon approached the MPD squad in the dark alley behind her home. Her then fiance joined Thursday morning's hearing virtually with a powerful message for the defendant.
And I have no doubt she would have forgiven you, Mohamed, for your inability to manage your own emotions that night, which resulted in you pulling that trigger.
I'm deeply grateful for Mr. Damon's forgiveness. I'm deeply sorry for the pain that I've caused that family.
Given the state Supreme Court's decision to toss out his third-degree murder conviction, Noor's defense team had asked for a low-end sentence on the lesser manslaughter count, hoping he might be released from custody with time served. But Quaintance wasn't swayed, giving him nearly 5 years. A large contingent of Noor supporters and family leaving the government center angry.
This is the bonus charge in Minnesota state.
So you feel race was a factor in the decision today?
Yes. This church hates Somali community.
Some pretty strong sentiments there from Mohamed Noor's loved ones. Now coming into the day, in addition to the topic of race, also conversations about when Mohamed Noor would be released from prison, given the amount of time served. When you calculated it all out with this new sentence in place, he'll be eligible for parole or what's known as supervised release in Minnesota at the end of June next year. So about another 8 months he has to serve in custody, provided there's some good behavior and he gets out on time.
You know, Paul, sentencing guidelines ranged from about 3.5 years up to almost 5 years for that manslaughter count. Did the judge elaborate on why the high end here?
Yeah, interesting, because, of course, the defense wanted to go low. The state asked to go high. Judge Quaintance continued to blast the MPD, the Minneapolis Police Department. I think she held some of the actions and troubles with the department against Mohamed. But beyond that, even though the murder 3 conviction was tossed out, she still believes Mohamed Noor put other lives in danger that night, shooting across his partner, potentially exposing other people in that neighborhood if he had missed Justine with that gunshot. And then finally, I just think she wanted to send a strong message here that this was sort of a worse kind of manslaughter case, and she sentenced him to the maximum guidelines allowed here, 57 months, nearly 5 years behind bars.
All right, thank you, Paul.
All right, my royal family, let me take this all the way down. And what Noor Muhammad got is what we call in America a nigger moment. And first and foremost, we know that you do not approach a police car day or night whatsoever. And that's what happened. She approached that police car at night, and that man was truly in fear of his life. And they wanted to make an example of him, again, like I said, because he is viewed as a black man. He is viewed as a black man. Now, we know that these folks don't have nothing to do with us, and they have their own community, and they have that right. But here in America, the folks that look like you and I, come wherever you come from, you develop certain attitudes. You have certain egos. You come off like you are better than, and you get a nigger moment, and you feel some kind of way, and you want our support. I don't think that they will learn from this because they are so ingrained into their culture. And I can understand the nuances of that. But you're still here in America, and they only see you one way. And I think the reason why the narrative was pushed to get this thing turned around, the concern is the enemy most likely eventually will shoot one of us, and they gonna say, I feared for my life. Now, that judge was out doing that because he was a black man, but they're concerned about their own, because what are the odds that a black police officer would do something like that? It is extremely rare, extremely rare. So this whole case was all about looking out for their immediate situation at the end of the day. But they still wanted to make an example or give an unquote, because when they, you remember, you know, something I don't say often, but I said that when the enemy gets an opportunity with us, they are very unforgiving how they handle us. And so as time go on, and as the judgment is being lifted off of the royal family, we are going to get opportunities. And we rarely do get opportunities, and the few opportunities that we do get, we show compassion. They would not do that with us. They are demonstrating their true nature at the end of the day. I say this repeatedly on this channel, and my backup channel is True Royal. I say this repeatedly about the nature of things and stuff. Our nature versus the enemy's nature. And it is what it is at the end of the day. I don't really have any feelings around it. And the reason why I don't have any feelings around it, because I don't like how certain folks come from other places, and sometimes they do end up in our communities, and your attitude towards the royal family here in America. They look at you no more than a nigga. And you will get a nigga moment. And some of them don't recognize it, and some of them do. Now you heard, I think that was his father that was speaking. He let you know that he does understand racism. So that lets you know that they over here playing a game too. Because what they're concerned about is favoritism and getting a bag. Because it's expensive here to live in America. So my royal family, it is what it is at the end of the day. Do what you do best. Render your voice with your beautiful divine words. And as always, my royal family, I thank you for your love. I thank you for your support. And with that said, Ashe.